Hey everyone, let's dive right into topic 2, where we're breaking down the absolutely critical process of fabricating bulkhead components for your CPCCCA3014 unit. Look, whether you're mapping out a kitchen fit-out, running a service corridor, or building a really complex feature ceiling, the principles we're covering today are the absolute foundation of your success on site.
As carpentry students here at Genesis International College, you already know the real test isn't just passing a written quiz. It's taking what's on a piece of paper and actually building it out on an active, usually pretty chaotic, job site. It's all about bridging that gap between theory and hands-on practice. So here is our game plan for today. We're going to start by interpreting the drawings, move on to setting out the bulkhead, tackle shaping those tricky curved profiles, get into the framing assembly, and finally, wrap it all up with quality control.
All right, step 1, interpreting the drawings, taking it from blueprint to build. Before you even think about grabbing your tool belt, we've got to get the right info. Fabricating a bulkhead means you're cross-referencing 3 totally distinct views. Why? Because you're not just figuring out where the frame goes, you're usually hiding stuff. Ducting, plumbing, wiring. You've literally got to thread the needle to ensure your frame has the precise clearances needed so you don't hit a major roadblock later on.
These 3 drawings are basically your 3D roadmap. Your plan view? That's your horizontal footprint, basically where this thing actually sits in the room. Then you've got your elevations, which give you the exact vertical drop from the structural ceiling line. And finally, the sections. These are crucial because they reveal the internal framing profile and exactly how much breathing room you have for those hidden surfaces.
Moving on to step 2, setting out the bulkhead and marking the site.
Okay, dimensions are locked in. Now we take it from paper to the physical room. The training manual puts this perfectly. It says transferring the layout is like drawing a map on the ceiling and walls. You are mapping this out in real space. You absolutely do not want to be the one who builds a solid bulkhead that accidentally blocks half a window or swallows a downlight that was supposed to sit perfectly inside it.
This is where your laser level becomes your absolute best friend. Establishing strict datum and control lines is just the professional standard for a perfectly aligned set-out period. You mark your center lines and edges right on the substrate, ensuring the physical layout is a complete mirror image of your earlier paper extraction.
Part 3, shaping curved profiles and perfecting the arc.
Now we're getting into the fun, slightly tricky stuff. A dropped feature ceiling over a kitchen island looks incredible, but it takes serious precision. Everything, and I mean everything, comes down to the radius, or R. This tells you your exact center point. If you mess up this measurement, your entire shape is fundamentally doomed before you've even cut a single piece of track.
So, to get it right, you have to follow a strict sequence. First, double-check that radius and center point on the drawings. Second, and please do not skip this, transfer that curve to a full-size template board, or even a floor setout. You absolutely need a physical one-to-one template. Then, and only then, you can prep your curved frame using a notched steel track or some laminated curved timber ribs.
Now, why are we being so obsessive about this precision? Because if those curved ribs aren't perfectly identical and matched to that radius, you're going to get ugly flat spots. And guess who has to try and fix those? The plasters. Trust me, the lining trades will definitely let you know if your messy framing work just made their life a nightmare.
Step 4, framing assembly. Let's put this thing together.
Okay, the setout is perfect. Templates are dialed in, let's assemble. It doesn't matter if you're using timber or a steel framing system, the rhythm is exactly the same. Verify all your cut pieces against the drawings first, then safely anchor those primary top and bottom tracks, or plates, to the structural supports. Once that's solid, you lock in your vertical droppers or studs, and suddenly you've got a rigid skeleton.
A huge part of a successful assembly is just picking the right fastener for the job. Going into a concrete slab with a steel track? You're going to need masonry anchors. Fixing into timber ceiling joists? Grab a 14-gauge timber screw, and make sure to pre-drill so you don't split the wood. Matching the fastener to the load and the material isn't just a suggestion, it's a golden rule you just can't ignore.
And finally, step 5, quality control, the final site check.
The frame is up, but hold on, we are not quite done. A true pro never hands over a frame to the lining trades without a strict quality check. Like the learner guide clearly states, you do not just eyeball a bulkhead and call it a day. It has got to be perfectly square, level, and plumb, because any structural hiccup you make right now will telegraph straight through the plaster and completely ruin the final finish of the room.
How you actually check this depends entirely on the shape you just built. For straight runs, pull a string line or grab a straight edge. Make sure that front face is plumb, especially if it's dropping over kitchen cabinetry. But for curves, You need to take that physical template we made earlier and physically hold it up against the installed sections in multiple spots. It is incredibly easy to over-tighten just one screw, a total beginner mistake, and accidentally flatten out your perfect arc.
So, as we wrap up this explainer and you gear up for your practical assessments, I want you to think about this. If your initial set out today is off by just 5 millimeters, how is that tiny error going to multiply into a massive headache tomorrow? We're talking unaligned cabinets, mismatched bulkheads, cracking joints during the final installation phase in Topic 3. Remember, ultimate precision starts the second you snap that very first chalk line. Keep that in mind out there, measure twice, and I will catch you in the next explainer.